This might be the most underestimated part of the entire story. Taylor didn't have to convince every person on Earth to stop listening to the original recordings. She only needed her most loyal audience to make a choice. And Swifties didn't just buy the albums. They participated in the mythology. They debated the clues. They analyzed lyrics. They hunted for Easter eggs. They compared old recordings with the new ones. And suddenly, listening to Taylor's version wasn't just listening to music. It became a statement of loyalty. The message was basically, if Taylor doesn't own the original, we'll support the version she does own. That is an extraordinary level of artist-fan alignment. And Taylor reinforced it with something even more powerful: unreleased music. Every re-recording could contain songs fans had never heard before. So the albums weren't simply copies. They had new value. Fearless gave fans vault tracks. Red gave us the extended version of All Too Well. Speak Now in 1989 added their own previously unreleased songs. Suddenly, Taylor had transformed an old album into a new product, and the audience had a reason to buy it again. Then something happened that made the strategy even more powerful. The re-recordings weren't merely successful. They were chart-topping events. All four released Taylor's versions debuted at #1 on the Billboard 200. In 1989, Taylor's version became especially massive. But the bigger victory wasn't necessarily the #1 positions. It was the fact that Taylor had convinced millions of people to revisit music they already owned. Think about that. Most artists release a new album and hope people care. Taylor found a way to monetize nostalgia, while simultaneously strengthening her ownership position. She turned her past into a new business opportunity. And the Eras tour made the whole machine even bigger. The tour celebrated her entire career. Every era, every album, every version of Taylor. And according to Taylor herself, the success of the Eras tour helped make it possible for her to buy back her music. So the pieces started connecting. The old albums created nostalgia. The re-recordings created new products. The fans created demand. The tour created enormous revenue and cultural momentum. And Taylor kept building financial power until she could finally do the thing she had wanted from the beginning: buy the masters. In May 2025, Taylor announced a part of the story that changed everything. She had bought back the master recordings of her first 6 albums from Shamrock Capital. And suddenly, the entire chessboard changed. The original recordings were hers. Her music videos, her concert films, her album artwork and photography, and unreleased songs connected to those recordings. The thing she had spent years trying to regain was finally back in her hands. But here's the fascinating part. Taylor admitted that the re-recordings had not gone exactly how everyone imagined. She had completely re-recorded her debut album. But Reputation, Taylor's version, was a different story. She said she hadn't even re-recorded a quarter of it, and she explained why. Reputation was too specific to that moment in her life. It wasn't just an album. It was a psychological snapshot, a period of anger, defiance, misunderstanding, reinvention. So Taylor wasn't rushing it. And that tells us something important. The re-recordings were never just about finishing a checklist. They were about control. And that's the part of the story people often miss. Taylor Swift didn't simply win an argument with a record label. She changed the conversation around artist ownership. She took something that initially looked like a disadvantage and turned it into an entire business ecosystem. She made fans care about masters. She made casual listeners understand why ownership matters. She made old music commercially relevant again. And she demonstrated something incredibly important. Sometimes losing control of something doesn't mean the story is over. Sometimes you build enough power to take control back. Taylor's greatest move was recording Taylor's version. It was making the audience believe that Taylor's version mattered. Because once millions of people cared about the difference, the balance of power changed. And eventually, Taylor didn't need to fight for ownership anymore. She could simply buy it. That's the real genius of the strategy. She didn't destroy the old versions. She created something stronger. She turned nostalgia into leverage. She turned fandom into demand. She turned a corporate dispute into a cultural movement. And finally, She turned ownership into the ending. So maybe the biggest lesson from the Taylor Swift Masters saga isn't about music at all. It's about power. Because sometimes the smartest move isn't winning the fight you're currently in. It's building yourself into someone who can change the rules of the fight. If you enjoyed this deep dive, subscribe for more pop culture stories where the details behind the headlines are even crazier than the headlines themselves. And honestly, if there's one thing Taylor Swift has proven over and over again, never underestimate what she can turn into a strategy.